Went to Baylor. I had a Air Force ROTC scholarship. Come out the other end with a good job, career in the Air Force. That was all I kind of had planned.
I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. Really from a young age, I had a heart for the Lord, and that led me to finishing high school and really wanting to take a year off and do something. I went to Costa Rica for a year. I really started to see how the church could transform the society around them, the brokenness around them.
My older brother had come a year before. He had actually got involved with the college ministry in Antioch. So he would bring me to church every Sunday. He would invite us to the kind of life group and stuff like that. And for a while, I'd kind of like dabble with it and come in on Sundays, party on the weekend, you know, do my own thing the rest of the week. My brother had invited me to go to Juarez, Mexico with him that spring break. And to me, God was real because I'd seen the way it had impacted my parents' life. But then in my own life, that there wasn't that same impact, the same reality.
After that year in Costa Rica, I came to Baylor. The real transformational part of being at Baylor and starting to go to Antioch was just, I feel like I finally found my tribe, I finally found my family. It was just so fun to be part of a community that was so committed to radically following Jesus no matter where it was.
I remember going to Juarez, Mexico as that freshman. I remember praying the prayer of God, if you're real, I want to know, I want to see who you are. I remember just being that first worship service and just the presence of God, the person of God being so real, so tangible. And I remember just crying and weeping at the front and realizing, He's real, He's near, He's faithful, He's calling us to Himself. I met Becca. She was a freshman. She had just come, and from the beginning, just was struck by who she was, by what she carried, what her values were. She was the pastor's kid that we pray our kids turn into. I was the pastor's kid we pray that our kids don't. We started dating in college, and from the very beginning, we had just committed ourselves to run after the purposes, the glory, the name, the fame of Jesus, and that's what we wanted our marriage, our family, our lives to look like.
Going into our senior year in college, we were engaged and had the opportunity to lead a group of students to Thailand for a month. And so we went to the south of Thailand and served for about a month. And I think for us, like we had traveled a lot. We had been to a lot of places around the world, but the people gripped our hearts in a way that we had never experienced before.
At the end of that trip, I think we just knew that our life and this nation, it would intersect someday. And I had this commitment with the Air Force and with work for the next 4 or 5 years, and we just said we'll surrender it to God and trust Him with the result. We found out 6 months before graduating that we'd be moving to Oklahoma City, getting stationed at Tinker Air Force Base.
For me, the plan was always to move overseas right after graduating, and so the Air Force was something I wasn't prepared for, but God had so much in that season for us of preparation.
Rebecca was at staff meeting at Antioch about a month later, and Chris and Julie Bennett came up on stage and they shared that they're going to plant a church in Norman, Oklahoma. And found out, it's just down the street from where I'd be working, where God took us. We
started a freshman life group when we first moved to Norman, even before the church started, with just a few college students. And I remember getting my computer out and being like, okay, we all need to sign up for World Mandate. Let's go together, from Norman. And out of that life group, I think about half of our team that lives in Thailand came out of that life group.
I think that time in Norman was so important to shape us as leaders, to impact our values.
We really felt the Lord opening the door for us to go, and we took a few exploratory trips to Thailand to just, okay, God, which city, where are you calling us, what people group. We initiated with 3 other families that we just felt like God had put in our lives that had a similar calling to the nations, and God brought our team together and they all said, yes, we're in, and then launched out about a year after that. Then we landed, oh, and the glory cloud fell. That's it. That's the rest of the story. Coming out of the church planting school, it's like we had all these amazing prophetic words and visions, and you know, you come in and you're just like, yes, like we're gonna take the land. And then you land day one and you can't speak the language, you can't buy your own groceries, you can't set up your house, and you just feel about this small. Not only, you know, did we have the cultural challenges and language and just the daily life, there were a lot of physical challenges. Josh struggled a lot with insomnia those first few years. And then about 6 months into moving here, I fell down the stairs and herniated a disc in my back that caused a lot of pain for the next few years. And then about a year and a half in, got pregnant with our son and just had a really, really challenging pregnancy. There was one morning I was in my bed. I'd always just try to muster up enough strength to open my Bible. So I was reading just a devotional one morning and just was so sick. I was just talking about how you know, God did some of his best work with people in sick beds and prison cells. It talked about even in the weakest places, in the places where we feel like we don't understand, like we can't see clearly, that we can offer God our yes. But in the devotional it said, you know, sometimes it's the quiet yes that silences the enemy and shakes the heavenly realm.
So we met this amazing couple early on and really felt connected to their heart, to their vision. But we had kind of felt like these are the people God's called us to run with in this season. And we decided, hey, in this new year, in the beginning of this new year, let's launch this church. And so we get together that first Sunday, and God brought people from all over the city. About 100 plus came that first week. And it quickly grew to 3-4 months later, there's about 300 people gathered together, worshiping, celebrating who Jesus was. Every week we would get texts, we would get messages, we would get calls of these testimonies of people having visions of Jesus and him saying, now that you've seen me, go and tell others. People seeing friends and coworkers and people in different settings who were healed miraculously, people who were leading others to the Lord on a weekly and a daily basis. We want to see God move in such a way in Chiang Mai that it touches the whole nation, that it spreads to every corner of Thailand and the Southeast Asian nations.
There's just no greater privilege than having a front row seat to God showing off in the nations of the world.
The way God leads us is always better often, I think, than what we could imagine. God has never once not been faithful with any risk, with any sacrifice, with any yes to him. And I think I'd say it again and again. The risk is worth it, the yes is worth it, the sacrifice is worth it.